Impact Africa Television here in Ibadan. And of course, we are taking a retrospect of what has happened in the course of the week on the program. And you realize that the momentum for a referendum or either an election is actually very loud in Nigeria presently as we head towards another election year in 2023. And the likes of President Muhammadu Buhari during his last interview, we also heard that he is prepared for the elections, given the fact that he said he has somebody in mind to succeed him, but he will not disclose who the person is. Obviously, it means that from the executive, they are prepared, as a matter of fact, to hand over power to the next person who will take the mantle of leadership. But in some quarters, some Nigerians are saying, why even go into these elections at all? So the call for referendum is heightened alongside those who are asking for total restructuring of Nigerians to have a kind of beer, because many other people feel in Nigeria that it's not an equal opportunity being set by our law presently in the country, and as such they're asking for a referendum where we'll decide the pace at which things should be in the country itself. My name is Bolabo, famous scholar. You're welcome to The Lens. Joining me this evening, we have Mr. Molaja Olaoye, and of course we'll be having Mr. Tunji Adepoju also joining us on the platform. But we'll start off this evening with Mr. Molaja. It's great to have you join us here, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. It appears that many Nigerians are divided in the line of whether we should go for a referendum or an election. Now, if you look at the provisions of the Constitution, every 4 years we're supposed to have an election. But Nigerians just feel that this Constitution is a contract. It actually doesn't reflect the interest of the average Nigerian. It's divided. Why then do we use that platform and continue in this way that the country could break if we go in this line? Would you say it's timely to be asking for a referendum at this time?
People are entitled to their opinion, and they can. When you're having a democracy, it is normal for people to be expressing their views. But when you're talking about referendum, it's just a way of confusing people. Because election, whether you are going to conduct a referendum or plebiscite or whatever you are going to do, it's still the process of election. So the kind of election we are doing, we are graduating by fortifying it to be well done according to the way election is being conducted in the world. And mind you, there has never been any perfect election. Even the father of all, we are talking about the United States of America, they have their own problem as well when you are talking about the way they are going to say they are rigging election or not. But still, it's the best way of choosing candidates.
But Nigerians are saying that under the Constitution we have presently, we cannot have an election. There must be a referendum to rejig the whole process of our laws and have a more appropriate kind of constitution that will guide our principles as a country itself.
And that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about referendum, it's a way of election as well. So, and we have been doing it. We have different representatives. And for the fact that we have constitutional mandated time of 4 years in which we can be able to change our leaders, it gives us much privilege. That's why I said, when people are demanding for referendum, this seems to be confused, I'm telling you. Because referendum itself is an election. Because people must express what they want.
But it's not a political, like you have to get your PVC, for instance. It's not a political election. It means like they are asking for a situation where everyone will have a voice. You're coming from different zones in the country, geopolitical zones, and you're saying that these are the interests of my people, and I want it to be reflected in the Constitution. After 4 years, the power should go to this certain region. It should be like a situation where there is a fair deal. And that's what people are canvassing for presently in the country.
When you are talking about breaking up Nigeria, because breaking up of Nigeria, it seems to be a difficult thing to do, because a lot of people don't want to break up. The expression of referendum is just being called by few who thinks they are not being well represented, or they don't have chance in participating in election. A lot of things is being sponsored. That is one thing that's peculiar to Nigeria. When you are talking about, okay, let's think about it. We are talking about Boko Haram. It starts from the fact that there are some few who doesn't want education to be in this part of the north. And that is their demand. Their demand seems to be right for some people who are blinded because of their religion bigot. The bigotry ideology that is being inculcated into some people. So when you look at those people, can Nigeria, can their zone be ceded to them because they just don't want education, Western education? Now you are talking about IPOBians who goes everywhere, who said they are demanding for their region to be their region that cannot even be well spelt. When you are talking about the state that can be of Igbo extraction, I mean, Niger Delta, they have been mixed together, whether you like it or not. So for those people who are canvassing for it, how many of them, what are they doing to justify the referendum they are seeking for? And we know these people are just self-centered. They are just thinking about their own selfish interest. That is why they are demanding for it.
I'm not saying they said the constitution is more or less like a contract. It doesn't really reflect the interest of Nigerians, and on that basis, they're asking for a more conclusive, that kind of inclusive constitution where everybody's interest is imputed, and of course, no one is left out here.
Yes, I mean, like Southwest, I've never seen them demanding for that. Only some few people who are saying they are looking for a dual republic, and I'm telling you, they are not even up to 1%, and they have their voice anyway. They can be able to express it. But now, talking about what you just said, I mean, it is so ridiculous. They can be able to demand for it. Are people really want to go? Are people really telling us the kind of election we are having is not inclusive? Because now, part of it, what causes all this starts from when we have this civil war in Nigeria. And the first advice that was given to Gowon administration is for them, it's for us not to be having three regions the way we have. We have South, we have Western region and Northern region. Now, Nigeria is being divided to about 19 states. We start from 19 states. From 19 states, we graduated to probably about 36 states, including Abuja, which is 37 states. And we add even federal House of Representatives that up to 200, probably 300 something representatives we have in Abuja, with excluding the senator, which are 100 something. So with that alone, we are well represented in all the spheres. We have local government, we have councillors. People have the right to choose who they want, even in the grassroots. So when they are telling us that they are not represented, they must submit their proposal. Tell us the way Nigeria should be. The way Nigeria should be governed, and what is the best solution that can be spelled out in the ways of governance. They are not telling us this. They are just giving a blanket excuse for referendum when they don't even know what they can do. Who are these people? They must explain themselves. They must show themselves. Let us know them. Many of them are politicians who have been rejected so many times. And with their demand, when they are even in government, what have they done to impact positive changes to Nigeria? And even people who they are represented, they are represented when they were there. But no, they are just giving us a blanket referendum ideology as if we are full. If we are not full in Nigeria, we know what we want.
But would you also throw the light of those who are already saying that it's a blunder not having referendum inclusive in our constitution at present, and that's a major blow to our constitution itself?
When they are talking about the referendum, it is not even entrenched in the United States of America constitution. It's not there. What we had in Britain, despite the fact that they are practicing on written constitution, it is just the referendum was being included when they were joining European Union. That there will be a time frame they can be conducting that kind of a referendum election in order to know whether they want to stay or not. Some of them regretted what they did. See the last election, the referendum that excluded Britain from European Union is just 49 to 51. It is just a little margin. You can see, and and before they can be able to implement it, there was a logjam before they can leave British exit. But ours is a written constitution. When you are talking about Britain, it is unwritten constitution. So there is different. We are guided the way we always want to conduct our ways of governance, which is well spelled in the constitution. without anything that is not in the constitution is supervised, it is not going to be accepted. You can see the referendum that was conducted in Barcelona, because they want to leave Spain. They don't want to be part of Spain. Is it being implemented? It's not. So there are a lot of examples we can tell people to see. But the agitator of referendum must give us the platform what they are fighting for. They must give us the template they want Nigeria to be governed. Without that, whatever they are demanding for, it cannot stand.
Well, let's look at the provisions of the Constitution. Now, it's been believed in some quarters that it's more or less like a decree. It is not something that should be adopted within a democratic setting. From some argument, from some proponents, some already are saying, some political juggernauts are saying, as a matter of fact, that this is more or less like something handed over to us by the military. And now, they also see it from the light that this is evil, given the fact that it was a selected few that had the opportunity to craft and draft this constitution for the use of the entirety of Nigerian. And now they also look at successive leadership in the country itself, saying that they've been very selfish and some of them unscrupulous, given the fact that they have never thought of the need to put away the constitution and have it done all over again. How do you look at the constitution? Obviously, if you look at some of the headlines of some of the dailies, they will tell you there are still arguments on whether we should go on referendum or election. What we need is referendum, not election in 2023. If you look at all of this, how then do we begin to start in bits? Do we say the constitution we should vacate it and begin to think about a referendum to pull resources together and build understanding here?
The beauty of it is that in Nigeria, we have a lot of Confucianists who are ready to confuse us all the time. The way the governance has been done is by few, whether we like it or not. And the few is always our representative, who we elect at a particular point in time. It is, you can imagine, the way the governance started. It started from Rome. Their system of governance, where you see some kings or queen who are ruling there. And when they demanded for Republican, a lot of lives were lost. And we are giving Republican. This is what whereby we can be able to elect who we want at a point in time. So now, the excuse of few, it has always been few. Even when during the Nigerian transition, during the colonial era, where our representative is always going to Britain to sit. We have probably Mapesin Constitution, Jefferson Constitution, all these constitutions are being as some few people who are selected or elected to represent us. Now the same thing is happening. That is why I said from the grassroots is when we have our representative. They are there to conduct our affairs. And whenever we don't want those set of people who are elected at a point in time, we change them and we draw what we need to those who have been elected at that point in time. That is what they must do. We can tell our representative, all these people can go. They can go to National Assembly. When the notion and the belief that our question is decree is just a mere unexplained excuse. Our question can be challenged in court of law. A lot of those portions has been challenged in the court of law, and anything that is against humanity or against the masses or against Nigeria is going to be expunged. We can see what is happening when you are talking about the VAT, when you are talking about the sovereign wealth fund, whereby the governor has taken them to the law court. And people, if you see something that is wrong in the constitution, you can challenge in the court of law. It has never been a decree. A decree cannot be challenged. It is a blanket law that must be obeyed by all. And we all know the decree is meant for the military. Who is going to challenge them? Whatever they want is what they are going to practice. And whatever they want is what they are going to implement. But when you are talking about Nigerian constitution, despite the fact is few that sat down to write the constitution. They are Nigerians. They are not Cameroonians. They are not Niger people. They are not from Benin Republic or Togo. They are Nigerians. And we must accept that because they are our own people. whatever they say is binding on us, because we are the one that sent them there. We can see what happened during the Jonathan era, whereby there is a constitutional conference that was made. These people are not Briton, they are not Americans, they are Nigerian, they are Yoruba, they are Hausa, they are Igbo, who went there and sat and talks about what we want. These are the people that we love. These are the people that we always clamoring for in different communities. They went there, and when they got there, they are sleeping. Whose excuse is that? Whose fault is that? Are we going to say it's governor? The people we respect in the society, the people we look up to, the people we voted for during any election, are those who went to Abuja, sat down, and deliberated about some things, and we saw them sleeping, eating. So who is to blame? So I don't know what Nigerians have the right to demand for what they want.
But what is the implication of actually having, even if these these voices could be minute, but what's the implication of not listening to some of the outcry here, saying that you shouldn't go ahead with a political process that has not helped the country? Why don't you give it another shot? Why don't you try some other means to make Nigeria a more settled place? If at all you look at it, because you said they are just minute individuals asking for this. These are not majority of Nigerians, but they are still Nigerians. Do we look away from these minute voices saying that let's go by the way of referendum? How can the government look at some of these agitations now before it actually spirals and turns into something else?
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in them demanding for what they want, but they must be able to influence people. That is what they do. What we do when we want to make it changes. It is not just only by few. You are going to make your voice to be known, and you must be able to persuade others to join you. By the time we see many of them who rise up, we can express our view during the election. Thank God, the way we are conducting our election is now being transparent more and better than before. When you see ballot paper being snatched, ballot boxes being destroyed. The last election, I was so delighted. Why am I delighted? You saw what happened in Kaduna. You saw what happened in Bauchi. You saw what happened in Sokoto, whereby just few people determine the fate of the election. So what happened in Osun State? The difference between PDP and APC is about less than 2,000. When you see what happened in Sokoto, it's less than 3,000. Unlike before, when you are going to see 200, 300,000 votes being casted, even if it's been doctored, we don't know. But now we can see in Nasarawa State, there about probably 2015 or 2014-15, it was about 5,000. The difference between APC and PDP was just about 5,000. And in their state assembly, you see more PDP as a state honorable more than APC. And that is the kind of election we want. If this can be transferred in local government election, we are going to see dynamic part of democracy, whereby you are going to see conflict of interest, you are going to see demand, and you are going to know who has power. But with the kind of things we are doing, whereby in a state that win election as a governor is the one that is going to have all the local government chairman, is wrong. That is where the problem starts. But if you have different kind of political party being a chairman of different local government, you will see good governance. There will be competition. But now it is what the governor does or says that all of them are going to be able to abide. Even if they are going to carry all our money, what are we going to do? This Nigeria is supposed to be demanding for true governance. They must demand for good democracy. Why do we have beautiful democracy in Britain, in United States of America, in Germany, in Russia, anywhere? It was because they are practicing it the way it should be done. There is no loophole whereby corruption can be entertained. People should be demanding for true governance instead of referendum. We don't need referendum. We can be able to govern ourselves in our community the way we want it. We can be able to get our community. People must be demanding for this instead of I want Igbo to be a president, I want Hausa, I want Yoruba. It's more. It's like tribal bigotry. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I can express myself when it comes to that. This is what is causing problem. You are talking about whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim. The Western world developers are past beyond this. All these unnecessary demand. it is so sad. I wish we can be able to change our ways of life. But when you are talking about referendum, those who demand for it must be able to do accordingly.
Yeah, but then if you look at the aspect of the political process of a country, we've had instances of electoral reform, which obviously, if you look at what the president said at the last interview, he was even saying something close to, there is no opportunities, for instance, for people to decide what they want within the political party structure. There used to be consensus candidacy. There is instances of primary, direct and indirect primary elections. That all of that has changed, and now being pushed to just say one aspect of a primary election, it's not acceptable. And those are some of the reasons why many Nigerians are saying, some are saying that, why don't we go on the way of referendum and let us agree on what we really want for our country? Is that too much? If you look at what the president even said the last time.
The president is a man out of so many Nigerians, out of many millions of Nigeria, probably 200 something million or 300 million of us. And what he feels is what he's going to say. But I look at the incident of direct or indirect primary. We are having it good in Nigeria. If that direct primary can be enacted, we are good to go. At least the word, whether you are talking about what they call it, when you want to select just one person, is going to be expunged. In the rep primary, whether you are 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 or 10,000 people, you don't know their
that's why people are saying if there's a referendum, it will be thrown up for votes.
No, referendum is not a must that must be accepted in the constitution. No, it's just a few expression of some people. It is not mandatory and it's not law. It's being conducted in Barcelona. It is for nothing. It's not accepted. But whatever goes through National Assembly, it is law. That is why a lot of people are clamoring for indirect and direct primary. And when the power that be knows that is going to affect them, is going to affect their power structure in the party, is going to affect the way they are controlling Nigeria, they don't want it to be. That is why they are demanding for indirect primary. Direct or indirect, they are in deep shit. They are in problem.
All right, so now let's welcome Mr. Tunji Adepoju. He's also a public affairs analyst on the program this evening. It's great to have you join us here, sir. All right,
thank you
we've been talking
much.
at length, looking at the fact that many have been calling, or some Nigerians are divided as to whether we should go by the way of referendum or election. What do you feel?
Well, my own take is that we always say, and it's agreed worldwide, that the constitution of any democracy is the ground norm. Every other law subsists within the constitution. Now, when we are talking about referendum is not it's a fire brigade approach. Well, we have the National Assembly, we have the Court of Law, we have the INEC provision. All these provisions are under the ground norm, which is the constitution. But if for any reasons people are feeling uncomfortable with any particular section of our law of 1999 as amended, then it should not be thrown open into referendum except in extreme cases.
But in this instance where Nigerians are divided because they feel that we do not have fair share when it comes to the issue of electoral process, and now they feel that certain region of the country have more opportunity than the other, and they also look at the provisions of the constitution as being lopsided. It doesn't really take in the interest of virtually every part of the country, and that's why they are saying that if there is a referendum, we will agree as to how Nigeria should be governed. And now the issue of the Electoral Amendment also Act comes into bear as a result of the fact that even the presidency had to say a no because it doesn't contain some certain things that the presidency expects. Now, if you look at all of that, would you not say, as a matter of fact, that this is coming at a time that it's really necessary?
Oh, well, my own take is that, INEC is a democratic institution, set up by the law of the land. And whatever INEC acts or provision are still under the constitution. So if the presidency is not comfortable with any provision of INEC, I think that's why the National Assembly is there. But as we have in Nigeria, people are saying the present assembly, National Assembly, is more or less like rubber stamp. Well, I want to agree with that notion, because initially, well, we have them vibrating, saying no, they are going to veto whatever the president says that's not in conformity with the people's wish. But suddenly, we now see the Senate president saying no, we are towing the line of the president. And when individual views are being muzzled, then democracy is being killed gradually. In this case, if the National Assembly is living up to its billing, I think there should be no cause for referendum. I think these people, for God's sake, are the people's representative. They came from various constituencies to represent the interest of their people. But what do we now see in Nigeria? They are now representing their own selfish and personal interest. And this is the tragedy of the democracy we are running in Nigeria.
And so how then do we address all of this? Because everything has been pushed to the Constitution, that there is a problem with our Constitution itself.
Well, you will recall that I say the 1999 Constitution as amended. Well, that's why the judiciary is there. That's why lawyers and human rights organizations are there. You know, anybody is doing anything against the ground norm stands to be challenged in the court of law. But if the courts are allowed to function as they should be, then the people's confidence in the judiciary will be rekindled. But we now see that the courts are being compromised, judges are being bought, judges are being harassed, even to the level of Supreme Court. This is an aberration to any democracy in the world. And this is where I think human rights organizations should begin to shout and say, no, this is not the case. Well, I think there used to be what they call the People's Parliament in some media houses. What we are doing now is part of the agenda setting. It's part of not being sitting on the fence, talking, seeing something and talking about something. I think human organizations all over the world should now lend their voice to this kind of debate.
Do we now, because you started the conversation now, do we now say that the elections in 2023 we should shelve it? Like some people are asking for that to happen, and we go by the way of referendum. Because if you look at some of the arguments that even the Constitution itself, those who drafted it are just few people who were not even known to Nigerians. They decided how the 1999 Constitution should look like and handed it over to the civilian government. And they are also looking at the fact that successive government under the democratic system of Nigeria has not thought it wise that there is a problem somewhere because this doesn't reflect the interests of the people. Do you see it in that light?
Referendum at this stage is rather too late. If you will recall, if you will note, the election timetable is already out. INEC has been preparing, fine-tuning their agenda, fine-tuning their logistics.
Is that static? It cannot be dealt with. It's not something that can be dropped aside.
Oh, it will cause a lot of commotion. And mark you, there are some people who are waiting to test the strength of this 1999 Constitution as amended. You know, the judiciary is supposed to be the last hope of the common man, and that's why we have the learned people, the learned friends who are so versatile in every aspect of our constitution. But I think referendum at this stage is rather late, and it's going to cause a lot of controversy and commotion nationwide.
So we should go ahead with the elections.
I think so. Because even, you know, election of 2023, I think it's between February, March or thereabout, and that's about 14 or 17 months from now. Between now and then, a lot can still be done.
In terms of restructuring? Okay.
Oh, restructuring and, you know, putting pressure on the National Assembly, putting pressure on the presidency, putting pressure on the media, putting pressure on the judiciary. I think we can see achieve something.
Do you also think that let me come back to Mr. Molaja. Now, some people will say we might be heading to hit the rocks, given the fact that this could cause a constitutional crisis, because it's been believed that after every 4 years, there must be an election. And now some individuals are saying that that's fraud. Let's not go by that way. It's not helping our economy. It's not helping our people. Would you also go in the light that this would be a major catastrophe for our laws? and of course constitutional crisis in the country itself?
I don't think so. I think we are doing fine. I think the part of democracy is when it's not being interrupted. That is why a place like United States of America and other developed part of the world are enjoying the privilege they have. So the proponent of this referendum have not even given us their like I said, the proposal, how it should be done. That is why I think a lot of them are Confucianists. I would say they are Confucianists because when we don't know the way we are going to be governed, they cannot just give us a blanket view and we are going to accept it. And in law, referendum is not binding. It's not about being binding. It's just a way of people expressing their view. It can be accepted and it cannot be accepted. And like my code analysts have just said, his view are just too beautiful, and that's the way it should be. We should run our nation. We should not run it in a confusing way. I remember 2007 election seems to be the worst election we had in Nigeria, and the late President Yar'Adua accepted it. He accepted it. That is, it is wrong. It is fraud. But still, what do we do? Do we suspend the election and cause confusion? Should Yar'Adua step aside and cut confusion? Something like that happened during the Agor and George Bush when there was constitutional crisis. And when the lockdown happened, Agor was pleaded through, was begged that we should not let this country down. We should not kill this country. We must accept it. We must accept what happened and fought forward. And they did. Because without it, Agor refused to accept the election. There is no way Judge Bush can be sworn in. And it's going to cause a lot of, because in the history of America, it's going to cause problem and chaos.
But if we even go that way, the route of America, what do we really practice in Nigeria? Many Nigerians are saying that we don't even operate a federal structure. We're having a unitary system of governance. And now many blames have actually been dropped on the doorstep of this present administration, the way they have gone about states, authority, and of course the federal authority. You could see what happened to Sanwo-Olu talking to a CSP, and the CSP is saying, I can't take all that from you. That is the sitting governor who has authority over his state, who can decide the way the state should go. And now his authority is being challenged by the executive. Now, obviously, what are we practicing? And is that not the more reason why Nigerians are saying, some Nigerians are saying, why don't we just cancel this process of saying we are operating a federal structure under a constitution that they believe is fraud? Why don't we start afresh? Why don't we come together and decide and chart a new way forward? Now, if you look at that scenario that played out between Sanwo-Olu and the CSP alone, doesn't it tell us so much more about the structure of governance we operate in Nigeria?
I don't think so. I think we build on what we have to have good democracy. And with what is happening in Nigeria, there's a lot of things that have been challenged in our constitution that we think is not right. The governors are doing it because a lot of them have not seen it before. People just think constitution are just there. They don't read it. When they are now
what are we operating? Is it a federal structure?
What I'm saying to you, when we first started this Third Republic or Fourth Republic, we don't have 30% derivation. And where the oil producing state are demanding for their share in what they have, they cave out about 13% derivation. There is no ministry of Niger Delta. All this is being done because with time, the federal structure is going to be put in place. It is a way of demanding it. The structure is going to be adjusting itself before it becomes full. You just don't do it in a day. Because a lot of states are going to suffer, whether we like it or not. But we must prepare them to be able to stand on their own before we let them down.
Are we moving forward? Because during the time of cocoa, it used to be like 50%.
We are.
For those mainstay of the economy, those are the main resources for the country generating revenue. But now the Niger Delta region is even making a total comparison to say at that time they were getting 50%, now it's 13%, and they are even saying they are still going to bring it down.
No doubt about it. Like I said, we are going somewhere. Even these people who have been given 13% derivation cannot be able to account for anything that they have done with the money. We have seen a serious mass corruption happened in Niger Delta Ministry, and it is not to the involvement like Oyo State or Lagos State or Kwara State, who are not part of those oil producing states. But the so-called states are being wasteful at this moment, but we must take it gradually. A Rome was not built in a day. I believe the federal structure is not being practiced the way it should be done, but we are going towards this, whether we like it or not. See what happened about that. The state has been demanding for their right, and they have gone to the law court, and before you see it, there might be a kind of agreement between the federal and the state, because they know it's their right. Everybody are demanding for their right, and that is what the beauty of democracy. They have not seen it for a very long time. I believe now we are tilting toward to the federal structure the way it should be done, and with time we are going to catch up.
Do you also agree that we are actually moving towards a federal structure that would want to realize at the end of the day?
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. Because what we have at present is what I can call militarized democracy. You know, you find former military governors, generals, and custom officers, paramilitary officers changing their garb, turning from khaki and their uniform now in flowing barbaric gas. But their spirit, their action hasn't changed. You now see even a governor of the state, after 2 terms, he will now transmit to become a senator, from there to a minister, from there to ambassador. It's not done. We are far from, getting it right. What we now run is a jaundiced democracy. It cannot be properly defined. You now see the governors becoming more powerful than the president. We now have so many sectional groups: Governors Forum, Northern Governors Forum, Southern Governors Forum. I mean, this is an attempt at tearing apart whatever we are calling a nation. I don't know. Progressive Governors Forum, somebody being the governor of the, it is not done this way. What I foresee happening is some groups within the National Assembly, within the governors, coming together to form a brand new or a new order. But with this present structure, no, we are not getting it at all.
So what is the way out of all of this before we leave this conversation?
Well, the way out as I see it is that, like I said, we keep on talking, we keep on discussing, we keep on telling them that no, it's not right. Recall that in 2014, President Goodluck Jonathan set up this National Constitutional Conference, whereby a lot of people, traditional rulers, governors, military officers, every sector of the economy converged in Abuja for about 3 months, and they arrived at certain things. But as we talk today, I have never known whether the white paper is out. So what are we now talking about? Even in under this administration, the constitution has been juggled, amendments, passing through first reading, second reading, becoming laws that are going to be implemented. But it seems Nigerians are so complacent. They are so lackadaisical when it comes to matters affecting their life, their existence. They just but if we sustain the noise as we are doing now, I think you will recall that recently people have been shouting, let the president brand the bandits as terrorists. The president seems to not be hearing, but I think 2 days ago he now agreed. I think our only way out is to keep on the tempo of this noise we are making, and we make it so holistic, we make it so thorough everywhere. We keep saying it. Marketplaces, even religious centers, traditional rulers, they should not keep quiet. Otherwise, this Nigeria, we may lose it.
And so we are going by the way of election, obviously.
Oh, sure.
So what should Nigerians be putting at the back of their mind, and those who have been calling for referendum here?
Well, what I think Nigeria should be putting across their mind is that let them know that referendum is a fire brigade approach. Referendum cannot obliterate the forthcoming election of 2023 coming up in February or March. Referendum cannot solve so many issues that have been addressed by the National Constitutional Conference constituted by President Jonathan. And we must let them know that what are these things agreed upon by the National Constitutional Conference? What are the amendments so far done to our national constitution? We just hear that amended. INEC laws have been severally amended. But who are we? And many of us are not sufficiently educated on this amendment, except you are so current. Maybe you are a legal practitioner, or you take interest in such amendment, then you will be at loss. You may be talking out of context, except you are well grounded in this amendment. So I think our way out is that we keep on talking, trashing this issue every day, everywhere. There may be somewhere we will get there.
All right. Do you also agree that we'll get there, and Nigerians should shelve the idea of a referendum and look forward to 2023 elections?
It's not whether I believe we are getting there, because when you see a lot of things that are transparent, when we started the democracy, it's so beautiful, and I'm delighted that we are getting there. Because in a place like
after 28 years,
28 years is small. It's small. Let's be sincere with ourselves. But the fact that we have seen some people who have done it more better, the Nigerian refuses to learn easily. They refuse it because we are deep in corruption. We love it. We seem to be enjoying it. So, and there is no law that can capture it all. That is why, and with this we are getting it, because let's see, you are talking about federal, system of government. In some few years back, many years, why do President Abraham Lincoln was killed? I think because of his hatred for slavery. A lot of states doesn't accept to let slavery go in the United States of America, and they were the one that prescribe it. They ban it, and a lot of states didn't agree with the federal, because Abraham Lincoln is a president. So with this, they change gradually, and I believe with what is happening, we are going to get better, and we are getting better.
On that note, that's our program this evening on The Lens. You have to join us next week for another interesting edition of the program. I've been speaking with Mr. Omolaja Olaoye and of course Mr. Tsunje, also here on the program this evening at Depoju. Thank you so much, sir, for being here.
Thank you.
And of course, he did have actually look at referendum and election, and they said, as a matter of fact, that we should prepare and get our PVC for the 2023 elections. And those canvassing to have a referendum, maybe they could have a rethink over the process itself.